composition exercise, here are some rules to follow. So we're going to start with, on the top portion here, we have the rules to follow, and then below here is our pre-work before we get to flat to actually fill in the composition. Okay, so let's read these rules. So I'm going to highlight so that we have kind of like an ongoing visual way of keeping track of our rules. So first of all, it says bass clef. So we know we're going to use bass clef, and we know we're going to use treble clef. So there's two clefs. And in the bass clef, it says it'll only use the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords in your chosen key. So you're going to choose a key, and that is going to kind of dictate all of your notes. And so you're going to have to calculate the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords of that key. You're going to only use 1 chord per bar, and your pattern would be that you can choose any of those 1, 4, 5 chords in any bar you want, and you write the pattern you wish. But the first chord must be a 1 chord, and your last chord must be a 1 chord. So you got to begin and end on 12 on a 1 chord. Sorry, and then the treble clef is going to be where your melody is. So that's our melody. I can use any rhythm value, so I can use quarter notes and half notes and whole notes and half rests and eighth notes and 16th notes and even 64th if I wanted to. But I'm going to have 4 beats per bar in total. And the melody will only contain notes from the pentatonic scale of the key you choose. All right, so if I keep tabs of those rules, I know I have this rule, that's 1, 2, 3 for the bass clef, and I have for the treble clef, I have any rhythm value I want to use, 1, amount of beats, and which kind of notes. Great. And our last rule to keep tabs of is, of course, the length. So the composition will be 12 measures long. All right. So that's another rule. All right, so we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rules in total. But there's still some choice that you can make in there. All right, so we're going to choose a key. This is a practice one, so we're going to choose the key of C major. But you cannot choose C major, okay? So that's, like, I guess the 8th rule. Because we're using C as our practice, I want you to calculate this using another key. So you can choose D, G, F, E flat, E major, B flat, whatever you want, just not C major. So once you choose a key, you're going to write that there, and then you're going to also write the scale. So C major starts on C, ends on C. You fill in the notes in between. Great. Then we have then we have to add the key signature. Well, if you went to the key signature list, you would find out that, of course, C major has no sharps or flats. So we don't need to add any sharps or flats because this is a complete scale. Then we add the pentatonic scale here. So the pentatonic scale, just to review, was the 5-note scale, and we did that by writing the C major scale first, and then we would number that, and then we knew that we had to take away like the 2. Sorry, not the 2. We needed to take away the 4 and the 7. So our pentatonic scale is C, D, E, G, A. C, D, E, G, A. So we'll write that there. And then lastly, we need our 3 chords, right? Because if we do this in advance, we'll have those ready for us. So to get those chords, let's just get a pointer here. We always said that you need the 1 chord. So the 1 chord starts on the first note, and then you skip the 2, you take 3, skip 4, take 5. So let's write that down. So the 1 chord is C, E, G. The 4 chord is that you start on the 4th note, so you need an F, skip the G, A, skip the B, C, F, A, C. And lastly, the 5 chord starts on the 5th note, that's the G. So then you do your skipping and you get those 3 chords. So this is kind of like the legend of notes and scale and chords that we need for the composition in flat. And you're going to keep these rules in mind as you do it. So whenever it says, 1 chord per bar, you can choose any of these 3 chords, the 1, 4, and 5, but it also said that your first one has to be a 1 and your last one has to be a 1, right? And then your 1 chord per bar, so like it could be like 1 in the first bar, and then 4 in the second bar, and then 1 again on the third bar, 5 on the fourth bar, and so on. Your melody will only contain these 5 notes. It could be any of those 5 notes, like in any order or whatever, but that's your melody. All right, so let's go to flat now and see what this looks like in flat. So you will be given a flat template that looks like this. It has a treble clef and a bass clef, because you'll need those, remember from the rules that we established. And then you will need 12 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I've already just indicated the one rule that you needed to follow, which was your first chord's going to be a 1 and your last chord will be a 1. All right, so then you start plugging in stuff. So the rule was you can use 1, 4, and 5 in whatever key you choose. Our practice key was C major, right? But here are the rules. We used C major, so I'm going to pretend like we're doing one in C, and I'm going to write my 1 chord here. There we go. I'm going to change that to maybe a whole, oops. Make sure that the chord is selected, then I choose whole note. So there we go. And then I'm going to write in, I'm going to choose also again here, oops. I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to use half notes now, and I'm going to use a 1 chord again, and I'm going to use 2 of them to fill that bar. Then here I'm going to start writing my 4 chord. I need 2 of those. Actually, I'm going to select that and make it a quarter note. So here I'm going to need the same thing. I'm going to use 2 bars of that. I'm going to select that chord and make it a whole note. So I've got 4 bars written so far. And then up here was my melody notes. So that's where I use, if you recall the rule, it said that the melody in the treble clef will be only contain notes from the pentatonic scale. So we wrote that out on the previous little part of the video here. So I'm going to choose notes from the pentatonic scale. And now for here, I'm going to use 8th notes. Oops, that's not part of the pentatonic scale, so I'll just move it up. Use some 16th notes just to make something maybe a little faster. I'm going to select that and make it a half note. So I've got a melody written in. I chose rhythm values that I wanted. Let's go back and play this. Oops, I'm going to go back to the beginning. So I've completed 4 bars there, right? quick review, I used the 1 chord there. I repeated the 1 chord because I can choose any chord I wanted for each bar as long as I only have 1 chord per bar. My 3rd and 4th bar were the 4 chords, and then I would continue on in the bass clef to do that. But I'm only doing 4 bars for you as an example right now. And then on the top, I used the only notes from the pentatonic scale. I randomly chose some, and yeah, I think that's a way to get you started. So you're going to complete that, and then for you, because you're a student, up here there'll be the turn in button. Please turn it in when you're completed. Okay, so this is kind of like your first composition if you haven't done one before, at least a written one. Maybe you write stuff while you sit down at a piano or a guitar, but this is kind of writing the notes out and composing in a different way. And we'll add some complexity as we go.